President Joe Biden will meet with his Chinese counterpart for the first time in a year. Chinese President Xi Jinping landed in San Francisco yesterday, where he was greeted on the tarmac by California Governor Gavin Newsom, Treasury Secretary Janet Yellen, and U.S. Ambassador to China Nicholas Burns. Biden and Xi's meeting follows a tumultuous year for U.S.-China relations as the superpowers now aim to get back on track. Major issues will be discussed in their talks today, including human rights concerns, the path forward to keeping the relationship stable, and the ongoing wars in Europe and the Middle East. Another goal will be finding a path to reopening military communication channels. Yesterday, President Biden was asked how he would define success in their meeting.
How would you define success with your meeting with President Xi?
To get back on a normal course of corresponding, being able to pick up a phone and talk to one another if there's a crisis, being able to make sure our military still have contact with one another. We can't take, as I told you, we're not trying to decouple from China. What we're trying to do is change the relationship for the better. From my perspective, if in fact the Chinese people who are in trouble right now economically, if the average homeowner, if the average citizen in China was able to have a decent paying job, that benefits them and it benefits all of us. But I'm not going to continue to sustain the support for positions where if we want to invest in China, we have to turn over all our trade secrets.
Let's bring in the President Emeritus of the Council on Foreign Relations, Richard Haass, and MSNBC contributor, Mike Barnicle. Guys, good morning. Richard, let me start with you. The stakes for this meeting today, this bilat, are what exactly? And I would just point to the front page of the Wall Street Journal headline, why Xi no longer brags about the economy, talking about the swagger he might have had a couple of years ago that he's not bringing to the meeting today.
Not so much. Look, this is the critical relationship of this era of history. And this is a relationship that's been deteriorating for several years. Both sides, though, now, Willie, have an interest in establishing what the president always calls a floor. The United States does not need another military-type crisis anywhere. We've got our hands full in Europe and the Middle East. Doesn't want China to be helping Russia in Ukraine, is worried about fentanyl and so on. So we have a political military agenda. Chinese economy is in bad shape. They've got all sorts of economic headwinds. So what they're looking for is no more U.S. pressure on their economy. They don't want new sanctions. They don't want new technology controls and so forth. So the two sides have very different agendas. China's is economic, ours is political military, but both sides want to stabilize this relationship. They'll get it. There'll be something of a floor. We'll see how strong it is, how long it lasts, what it covers. It's not going to deal with things like Taiwan and the big differences. But all things being equal, I think it'll stop the deterioration in the relationship, but we'll have to see for how long. The same thing happened a year ago at Bali. They met literally a year and a day ago. They established what they thought was a floor then. The balloons, showed up one day in the United States. The floor didn't last. So we'll see how this goes.
Well, Mike, it is because of the economic problems China's been having over the past couple of years, and they've steadily declined over the last 2 years. A lot of news reports, a lot of foreign policy analysts saying that we could actually get some significant things out of this summit. If by significant, again, just relaunching this relationship, relaunching a baseline on security, on Taiwan, and going back to what was the status quo on that issue. And we've already seen both sides talking about progress on environmental issues as well. This would have been a far different summit 6 months ago than we hopefully will see today.
Yeah, Joe, apparently the key word that you just mentioned is baseline, a baseline for the relationship between China and the United States. And we'll see from the get-go what happens here. It'll be clearly evident in what we see on TV when the meeting occurs, the first meeting occurs. But Richard, how does a relationship with China improve when you've got two countervailing things happening? China is flooding America with fentanyl, knowingly flooding America with fentanyl. And the United States, obviously, sensibly, is busy putting together relationships up and down the Pacific Rim with Australia, with the Philippines, things like that. What would be success in this relationship?
Sometimes in foreign policy, you want to bring about real cooperation. You want to improve relations. Here, probably the definition of success, Mike, is more modest. It's what you want to avoid. More than anything else, the United States and China need to avoid a conflict over Taiwan. We need to avoid China specifically arming Russia. We don't want China to do things in the Middle East that would make things there more difficult. Now, if beyond that, we can actually get some limited improvement on fentanyl, reestablishing military-to-military communication. So if there's ever an incident, it doesn't somehow escalate. Again, China's more interested on the economic side, but I think we've got to be modest here. This is a relationship that really hasn't really found a definition for itself. It's highly competitive, and the question is, can you avoid having the competition spill over into something conflictual? Now, can you find some limited areas of cooperation amidst the competition? Maybe, but we're not going to get Chinese help on North Korea. We're probably not going to get Chinese help on Russia. So it's difficult.
Does China not have a huge demographic problem? The elderly and the very young unemployed?
Absolutely, yeah. China's what, 1.3, 1.4 billion people. The estimates are, over the rest of the century, over the next 75 years, China's going to go from something where they are now, 1.3, 1.4 billion, to something on the order of 800 million. Massive demographic decline. And as you say already, the ratio of those working to those who are retired is moving in the wrong direction. A lot of young people, some of the best and brightest, are leaving. Over 20% youth unemployment, which is a real problem. A really interesting article recently by Evan Osnos in New York talking about Chinese malaise. This is look, what Xi Jinping has done is he strengthened the government, strengthened the Communist Party, but it's had a real effect on the economy and the society. He's prepared to make that deal. He wants to make sure they maintain political control. But China's paying a price for this. So we used to worry that China is 10 feet tall. We now understand it's not. But this is still a difficult China. We shouldn't underestimate some of their areas of economic competition, things like AI. They're the world's leader in things, solar and all that. But also a China that has difficulties at home isn't necessarily an easier China to deal with abroad. And that's really the challenge facing us.
Not easier at all. You know, it is interesting that over the past 10, 15 years, we've had people coming on our show talking about the rising China. It was going to eclipse us. It was going to leave the United States in the dust. I said, well, heard the same things about Japan in 1986, 87, 88, 89. It just wasn't going to happen with Japan. It's not going to happen with China. But there is no doubt, Jonathan Lemire, one of the reasons why the U.S. economy is still so much stronger than China's are because of a lot of self-inflicted wounds. You look at, again, the demographic problems right now. It's just a demographic time bomb waiting to go off. In China, you add on top of that how Xi has basically chased down some of the best entrepreneurs and put the fear of the Communist Party in them. So they're not on the cutting edge. What entrepreneurs want to move to China right now? A lot of American businesses don't really care about staying there anymore. They were always talking about expanding. You look at what happens with Hong Kong, all these things. And then just this past week, reports that Xi is trying to encourage young people to move out to the country because there aren't jobs in urban centers. I mean, again, this is a society going through some pretty significant changes.